Reporting for Southeast Asia. This article is actually going to come from several different sources, so I'll hook you guys up and put them beneath the video, alright? Many would argue that since the end of the Vietnam War, Southeast Asia became a hotbed for prostitution and human trafficking. Human trafficking, as defined by the UN Trafficking Protocol, is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of a person by such means as threat or use of force or other forms of coercion such as abduction, fraud, or deception for the purpose of sexual exploitation. The anti-human trafficking group End Child Prostitution, Child Pornography, and Trafficking of Children for Sexual Purposes discovered in a recent report that economic forces in Southeast Asia are set to drive more and more vulnerable children and young people to be exploited by the global sex trade. Increasing poverty, reduced government aid to social services, and restricted immigration laws in countries that are sexual tourism destinations are all among the factors that heighten children's vulnerability. The International Labour Organization estimates that sex tourism contributes more than 14% of the gross domestic products of Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Thailand, while the UN Office on Drugs and Crimes states that in its 2009 Global Report on Trafficking in Persons that 79% of all human trafficking cases dealt with sexual exploitation, which is the world's fastest growing criminal activity. Many Southeast Asian countries, in fact, are facing international criticism for not doing more to combat human trafficking. In 2009, the Obama administration implemented on its U.S. watch list more than 4 dozen countries that they believe are not doing enough. Making this list are Southeast Asian countries, including Cambodia and the Philippines. These countries will face sanctions unless their reports improve. Now we need to turn and look at Myanmar, which has just reemerged on the global world stage after being reclusive for more than 50 years under the rule of a dictator. And with this reemergence of the country, we are gaining more statistics on human trafficking as well. In fact, the Trust Law, which is a Thomson Reuters Foundation service, reported in 2012 on Myanmar's trafficked brides who are lured to China under false pretenses, usually the promise of work, only to be forced into marriages with Chinese men. This is due in part to China's one-child policy, which was enacted in the 1970s and led to an imbalance in the male-to-female ratio, nearly 120 males to every 100 females. And this has been due to a cultural preference for having male offspring over female offspring. Chinese men who are unable to find Chinese brides or pay their dowry are increasingly turning to brokers to find wives from impoverished Myanmar, where nearly a quarter of the population lives on $1 a day. Research shows that 7 out of 10 human trafficking cases in Myanmar in 2011 dealt with women and girls who are being